How do you choose a life that you want or you wish you had and to be living it that way? Sometimes it's super unclear how we get to live how we dream we should. We all know that tomorrow is never promised and that we need to and get to live life to its fullest. But with all the things that bog us down in life, how can we possibly live and create a royal life and choose not to settle for ho-hum, average, this is as good as it gets, unfulfilled? How do we get to choose that kind of life that lights us up and is actually royalty? We are live on the Erin Strayer Show, where we are all about promoting, cultivating, and expanding amazing female entrepreneurs that are out in the world doing things just a little bit differently. We talk about hot topics and pain points like how do we get to live royally? We're going to talk about that today, as well as we're going to give you some tips and tricks and workarounds and an actual life experience to living life royally. Wherever you're watching from, thank you. We appreciate you and your viewership here on this Erin Strayer Show. If there's a link above you in the comments, go ahead and click that. Come on over to our platform. We'll be able to see you and your comments over here. I'm your host, Erin Strayer, and recovering corporates and entrepreneurs hire me to get them business beyond the basics because most are indecisive. They're held hostage by their own fear. And quite frankly, they have settled for that ho-hum average C+ life. This lady today has chose otherwise. We're going to talk about that. So I help them keep on track by setting obtainable goals, plugging gaping holes in their business and personal lives, and living their dreams to reality. And bottom line, I provide peak performance scaling strategies for growth-minded entrepreneurs so that you and your business gets the attention to detail it desires and you start making money in your business. You can find me at erinstrayer.com. All right. She is known as the queen of damn near everything. Patti Phillips wears many diverse, fun, creative hats. She is an author, an artist, a comedian. She has a show tonight. She's a realtor, a speaker, a serial entrepreneur, a wedding officiant, and a blogger. And Patti's passion is all about living life to her best living with integrity to its fullest, all while experiencing the most amount of fun possible. We're going to laugh a lot today. I already feel it coming. And she feels that many women put themselves and their needs and their dreams and their goals last. And she is out to change that by teaching others how to live a royal life. She's brilliant. She's super funny. She's engaging and she's super delightful. And I can't wait for you to meet Patti Phillips. Hello.
Hey, Erin, how are you?
Hi, queen of damn near everything.
Thank you. Thanks for that great introduction. I appreciate it.
I'm so excited to have you today. And
I
thank
look
you.
so dark compared to you. It's like light and dark.
Light and dark.
I'm like the evil side.
It's like the good and evil. Where's your
There you go.
Wandy thing? Come
There
on.
you go. Yeah. And that's what
I know. Da, da, da. Yeah. So life for you, you chose to change life. What was it like before now?
Well, with my last husband in a cast of thousands, life was not great. It was constant financial struggle. I work. That's all I did. I remember at one point working over 100 days, and I'm talking 14, 16, 18-hour days, trying to dig out of this financial disaster we were in. And unfortunately, I finally came to the conclusion that no matter what I did, he was going to dig the hole deeper. But so when it was finally time to get out of that marriage, I decided immediately, life is never going to be like this for me again. I'm going to change my life. How do I do it?
Yeah.
And the very first thing I did, that literally like a day or two after I told him it's done, we're separating, is I called a client of mine, a real estate client. I said, I know you dance. I've always wanted to learn how to dance. Where do I go? What do I do? And boom, I started that day just turning my life around to what I wanted it, not to what life just threw my way.
You know, and that in itself is super scary because I think so many of us want all these different things, but we're scared to make that phone call to the lady with the dance lessons, right?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
we have the resource, but
Right.
we're scared to tap it.
Oh, yeah. You talk about scared. It was 2008. I was a realtor. You know what was going on in 2008?
Market
And
crash.
I had never lived without a husband supporting me or as a backbone or just another person there. You know what I mean?
Sure. Another
And
source of income.
I had a daughter that was in college, and I had a stepdaughter that decided to move in with me. She was about 14 at the time. So I was, all of a sudden it's like, wow, it's 2008. I don't know if I'm going to sell a house tomorrow or in a year. I have, you know, I mean, talk about no money in the bank. I had just the opposite. I had hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt thanks to this guy. And so, yeah, it was scary. It was really scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think so many of us, even though our situations are different, we have those same feelings, and we want a better way of life. We want to get out of the hole. We want to change things, and we feel like we have like cement in our boots.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Right.
So what did it take of you to actually pick up the phone that first time and make a call to the dance lady? Like,
well, like I said, that was the one thing where I thought I wanted to do this. This doesn't cost a lot of money. It's something I've always wanted to do, so I'm going to do that. And you know, that became what I called my drug of choice. And you know, I would say to people, dancing was and is my drug of choice. So going through that really difficult, scary time, revamping my whole life, when it was the day for me to dance, first I started dancing 1 day a week. Then it was 2 days a week, and I would go, oh my gosh, I just have until Thursday and I can go dance. It was that light truly the light at the end of the tunnel, you know? And I would tease with my stepdaughter. I said, well, it's better than taking up heroin, you know? So
Right.
it was that thing of, and when you dance, especially as a woman, you're following, you can't think about what's going on because you got to figure out what this person's leading, what the next step is. I mean, it's kind of like a, you know, analogy of life. You have to figure out what the next step is and just think about that rather than all the junk that was going on. So it's perfect for me.
Yeah. And I think that so many people need to know what that next step is instead of trusting the next step.
Right. Right.
And doing that dance. I like the analogy. And it's really not an analogy because for you it was real life.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's so true that I think that when we choose to trust that next step, that it reflects the choice that we took because it's positive. And now it's become I need that next step. When's Thursday coming? When do I get to go back? I have something else to focus on. Oh my gosh, this is such an amazing positive in my life. And you're not settling, right? And I know that that's a big thing that you talk about when you're choosing to live this royal life is that you don't settle.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's one of those things where people say to me, well, I can't. And I go, no, you can't. I mean, you can't. If you believe you can't, you can't.
Yeah.
You know, and if you believe you can, you can. And so it's the, like you said, the not settling that, okay, what is a step? It doesn't have to be everything, but what is a step I can take to creating that life I want? Yeah. As little as, let's go dance. Let's learn how to do the East Coast swing. Let's learn how to this, you know, whatever that little step is. And it was for me one step at a time. How do I get out of debt? How do I bring my credit score up from 420, which it was, to, you know, being a woman who bought her own house, to buying a second house, to, you know, I just bought investment properties. So, you know, 10 years, it was, you know, incremental of, you know, you don't jump into being, you know, a millionaire overnight or life is perfect overnight, but you take a step.
Yeah. And don't you feel like when you take those steps that they're actually like it's building a muscle or getting the encouragement or the validation, whatever word you want to put on that, to continue to take the next step, right? To learn the next dance, to grow that. And don't you feel like women are in a different boat than men?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Why?
Very different. You know, I think there's still a difference in what people believe women can do and what people believe men can do. And I think women still sometimes believe, well, without a man, I can't do this, or without, you know, I need a man to help me, or I need to, I hear all the time, well, I can't leave my husband because blah, blah, blah. I can't move out. I can't walk away. A woman came on my Facebook probably 2 weeks ago and said, oh, well, this is easy for you to say, but I have kids and I can't just up and quit my job. And no, you can't just up and do everything, but you can do something. You can do something. And they said, well, I have to rely on my husband for this and this. Well, you can continue to rely on your husband, or you can start to build your own life of what is great. And if he's a part of it, great.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think that that's also like such a hard stop for not only women, but men too. But since our audience is women mainly, I want to focus on that. And because, traditionally, things are changing.
Yeah.
Women are standing up more and more. They're out on their own. There's a lot of women that support themselves now versus when we were coming up through education and our parent, right? We're in that different demographic. And so I feel like so is our audience that, most of us are over 40, where that's kind of already ingrained that we get to depend on somebody else to support us. Which is, I think, where that I can't make it on my own. I can't just quit. I can't just change my career. Right? So what do you tell these women that continue to, I know I'm keep looping around to this, but I feel like it's such a huge point that I can't versus, hey, just try one little thing. Like
exactly. I have a little list of 10 steps to starting to lead a royal life, which I'm happy to share.
Yeah.
But when this was it for me, the very first thing I did is I sat down and I thought, what would I like? What would be kind of a perfect life for me? And I made the bucket list, of I would love to do this and this and this and this in my life that I haven't ever done, that I would love to do, that would be important to me. And, some of them were crazy things. Skydiving. I'd always wanted to skydive. And every one of my husbands, there was 3, every one of them said, my wife is not jumping out of a plane. So what do you think one of the very first things I did was? My daughter actually bought for me and her brother to go shoot that the Christmas after I became single. She bought us a thing. We all went skydiving together. And so little things like that, I on this bucket list did a little this, a little that. And it was really funny. There's a country western song, and I think the name of it, She Let Herself Go. And in the song it says she let herself go to to New York City, to a spa, to get herself pretty, and to Honolulu. And there's a list. And it was funny. Less than a year after I'd gotten separated, I'd done every one of those things. And I was listening, that song came on in the car. I went, oh my gosh, I did all that. I went to New York City. I went to Honolulu. I went on a cruise. I went to a spa. I did all that. And it was just one thing at a time that on that list, it was like, how do I make this happen? And I think when you put it out there, whether you believe in the law of attraction, abundance, whatever you believe in, if it's out there and you believe it and you believe you can do it, you can. But when people say, oh, well, I can't, there's not a way. They can't. And, here I went from a 400 credit score and huge debt to literally I had no credit card. I couldn't buy a loaf of bread on credit. If I didn't have cash, I couldn't buy it. And I'm telling you, like I said, it was scary. When I'd have an escrow close, I'd pay 4 or 5 months of rent in advance, knowing that at least I had a home, a roof over my head. And all of a sudden, a few years later, here I was. I got a car loan. I finally had credit cards. I finally had, my own home, and some of that came about crazy ways, not the traditional way, but I did it. And then all of a sudden, I looked, and here I am with whatever credit I want to have, and credit score of I think it was 798 last time I checked, and things that a little bit at a time. I was proud of. I was like, oh, I've got my credit up to 600. I've got my credit up to 650. Oh my gosh, I got 720. I mean, just little things at a time. Yeah. I had to go different ways. I had to get a private home loan from somebody who was selling their home. I had to do different things. Yeah. But a little at a time gave me that life I want.
So I want to stop there for a second, because you said it a couple times that you had to do things differently. Mm-hmm. So stepping out of the norm. Mm-hmm. Again, tapping resources, going kind of around the edge of things, finding the loopholes, finding what works for you was really imperative for you to get to where you are now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And my best life, my royal life isn't your best life, your royal life. You know, some people look at me and go, you are so freaking busy. I would never want to do all you do. And I look at exactly what you said in the introduction, that tomorrow is never promised. And I just saw that, Erin, in a gal I know who owns the salon I've gone to for years. Was fine one day, 2 weeks later, gone. And just totally unexpected cancer, boom, end of the story. And, you know, that drew it home. And right now I've outlived my mother by, I think almost, I don't know, 8 years or something. You know, my mom died much younger than I am. And so you don't know. And so I always go, my phrase is, you don't know when they're calling in the chips. You don't know when they're calling those chips, Erin. So you know what? I live it to the fullest, because I don't want to, you know, all of a sudden something happens. I go, oh, I wish I had done more. Right. And so my best life is different than your best life, but whatever it is for you, it's your best life. And nobody does you like you do.
So can we look back to these 10, the 10 steps, and maybe talk about a couple of them?
Sure.
That people could plug in and make happen? Because I know one of them was, hey, write down what you want to do and get accomplished. How many things go on that list?
It's up to you. You know, a lot of people say you should have 100 things on your bucket list at all times. My problem is I have that 100 things, and it looks like it never goes down. But what happens, I cross them off and I go, wow, I've never done that. And like, we were just on vacation and there was a guy doing card tricks, and that's my new one. I went, I want to learn how to do some card tricks. 2 months ago, that was not even anything I would have thought of, but all of a sudden I was like, I'd like to be able to at a party whip out and do card tricks. So whatever my bucket list is, you know, I cross off 4 or 5 things, and then I come up with something new. So I think that's it. You know, you don't have to have 100 things on your bucket list. You can have 10, you can have 20, you can have whatever works for you. You can continually add to it. But unless it's out there and you've got that goal to get to, and I think part of it is, as I said before, once you put it out there, it just comes. You know, when I bought my first house, it came the craziest way. And my first thing was, I can't do that. And my daughter happened to be standing behind me, and she goes, well, why can't you? You know, and I went, oh, it's not your traditional way, but it worked. And, you know, so it's that thing of when it's out there and you believe it, it can happen.
Yeah. And I think that's huge too, that energetically, that you put it out there, you write it down, you make it happen. There's an energy, and I'm a huge believer in using a pen and a piece of paper, because there's an energy that actually comes through the writing utensil when you put it on the piece of paper. I don't know. It's kind of one of those weird things that I believe versus typing.
Yes.
That it actually goes out farther. I don't know if it's true or not, but I like it. I really feel that when you set the intention, and I'm going to agree 100% with you, when you set that intention and you put it out in the bucket list, the universe says, hey, Erin wants to go skydiving before she's 55. Let's make that happen, right? Like, or, hey, Erin really wants to drive a backhoe this year. Like, that's one thing that I've never done, and I really want to do it. I want to know how to drive a backhoe. I don't know. It's weird. Just like you with card tricks. It's like, it's cool, right? Like, what makes you tick? What do you want to do? What's not the norm? And that energy that declares, hey, I want to.
Yeah. And, you know, it works both ways too, Erin. I had a friend, I am seldom sick, and I know a lot of it is probably genetics. My sisters aren't sick. My one sister on a trip 2 weeks ago said, the last time I had a cold was 1973. It's the last time she was a day sick. So maybe it is genetics, but people will come up, you know, you'll say hi to somebody and they'll say, oh, don't hug me, you're going to get sick. And I say, no, I'm not, because I don't have time to get sick. I don't get sick. Give me a hug. And I had a friend that would say, oh my gosh, I'm going to be sick. A lady was at the grocery store and coughed right in front of me. I'm probably going to be sick for 2 weeks. I said, you probably are. And then she'd be, oh my gosh, I knew I was going to get sick. I said, you did, didn't you? So it goes both ways. If you believe it, it can happen.
Yeah. And it's so interesting that you say that, because you just put it out to the universe, and the universe is that, okay, you want to be sick? Poof, there you go.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She was just determined all the time she was going to be sick.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly, I could be standing next to the same lady. I would have hugged the lady, and I wouldn't have gotten sick because I go, I don't have time. I just don't have time.
I don't have time. I don't have time. Cool. So, what else is on your top 10 list? Your 10 steps?
Let's see. So you make your bucket list and set that positive intention that you can get it, and then figure out one step at a time. What are those things? How could you achieve it? Somebody had said to me, well, I don't know how to meet anybody, or I don't know how to do this. We are living in the most beautiful time because you Google, you look up meetups. Somebody said, I just moved. I don't know anybody. I don't know what to do. I'm so lonesome. I said, well, go on Meetup. Think of what you like to do. Do you like to dance? Do you like to cook? Do you like to camp out? I had a real estate client came and changed her life totally, moved from a different area. And that's what she did. She loves to camp. She went into some meetup groups, met the man she's with now for a few years. They have a rich, wonderful life. And I looked at her, I said, I am just so amazed. It was one of these situations where she was married, the husband had an affair. She wanted to move near her kids, be near her grandkids to be. She now lives here. She said that. So we're in such a beautiful time. Go on Meetup, Google, I want to build my business. I want to start a new business. Google, find a group to go do it. There's probably a Meetup group that tells you how to, whatever, be an influencer or be a marketing guru or whatever it is. So set the steps of how do I get to those little things one at a time. Mm-hmm. And even if you're the mom at home with kids or whatever, there's a way to get to some of those. Whether you ask the husband to watch the kids or whether you ask a girlfriend, let's trade. Can I watch your kids for something while you let me go to this group? Do a little step at a time. You might not get into that new career today, but you can figure out how to be there in a year or whatever.
Yeah. I agree with that too. And that like loops right back around to when we started with tapping resources.
Yeah.
Tap your resources. There's so many more out there than you even allow yourself to go, oh, hey, I got more than just Patti for a resource, even though Patti's a ridiculously amazing resource. You people, I'm just saying.
Even like on Facebook, there's groups, there's women's groups that support one another, whether it be business groups or whatever. It's all out there. We're in such a rich place to live, rich time to live. It's amazing.
Yeah. So, Miss Queen of damn near everything.
Damn near.
Can you drive a backhoe?
No, but it's funny when you said that. My ex-husband, the last one, was a landscaper. And my stepdaughter at 10 years old we were redoing our yard and he let her go down the street. She's driving this backhoe. I'm like, what are you doing? The kid, 10-year-old can't drive the backhoe up and down the street of our neighborhood. But so that's the one whose car I told you broke down yesterday. This is my daughter. But, it's not something I've ever wanted to do, but she knew how to do it.
That's cool. Yeah. That's cool. So I want to talk about you and what you do and who you service. And because you go so much farther than, my gosh, when we talked the first time, like you were in the middle of planning like 4 massive events with like a minimum of 60 people in like 3 days.
Yeah.
And I was like blown away in that moment. I'm like, are you kidding me? You have 3 events in 4 days and like the least amount of people there is 60. I'm like, oh. And you're like, yeah, it's no big deal. I do it all the time. And I'm like, just like, wow. Okay. Like massive stress, but you feed off of that energy. And like, let's just go there with who you really are, Patti, because, not only are you a speaker, an author, a comedian, a realtor, like all the things, but like, let's just go there with who you are.
Yeah, I do. I thrive on that. And it's so funny because sometimes I'll say, oh, I want to put on such and such event. Oh, there's one day open on my calendar in 2 months or whatever. And I fill it in and I don't look. And that week that we talked about, I don't look that, oh, the day before I put on an event and 2 days before that and I'm putting on something and 2 days that I just like fill the empty space. And then I went, oh, but it's just a case of people say, how do you do that? We'll be out dancing on a Friday night. And I'm having a party for 100 the next day. And they go, how are you out dancing? I go, it's just not that big of a deal because I just structure that what has to be done. How do I do it? I organize it. And I have a little secret when I give parties. I have somebody I hire that I do all the cooking, but I have somebody that puts it in the oven and cleans up during the party so I can have fun. That's important to me. So I drop an extra $100 on a party or $150 so I can have a good time. So I look at my priorities. But it's just a case of, like, when people say, well, I can't come to this because I'm leaving town 2 days later and I have to pack. I go,
Takes you 2
so
days to
put the
pack.
suitcase out and make a list. And as I'm driving around, I got the list going and I'm taking this and you put it in the suitcase. So to me, it's just doing it. I mean, if you look at my house sometimes, my sisters are very organized and everything is neat in every closet. I'm not that girl. But I can that's one reason I have to have parties, because they have to condemn my house otherwise. So I have to have things regularly to keep things organized visually. But I'm not perfect, but I do more than a lot of people. So if everything isn't perfect, it's okay. That's okay with me. In my office is horrible. Someday you're going to hear that a woman died from an avalanche in Carlsbad, California. It will be paper. It will be me. They're going to find me dead. Yeah, the paper on my desk sometimes gets higher than my computer, and it's horrible. I just have to shut that door. I clean it up, and 2 days later, it's right back. So I don't have the total organizational perfect with everything, but it's like I can organize. I can keep a lot of balls. Remember the guy with the plates? I can keep a lot of plates spinning.
Yeah.
You know?
And I remember when I was, checking you out, and that's one of the things on your website that you referenced, the guy with the spinning plates, and he's got all the plates in the air and they're all spinning and keeping it going. And I think that you are like a master of the spinning plates with all the things that you do, but you do them not only for yourself, for other people. Like you are a master facilitator. You get things done. You don't have any problem whatsoever running 4 or 5 events a week.
Yeah.
And like, in addition to, helping your kids move, and, oh, by the way, I have a comedy show tonight. And, oh, by the way, I sold 3 houses yesterday. And right. Like all the things that you do. And I think, probably a lot of people are like, well, how do you keep it straight?
This is how, some people do the computer thing, but I told you my term for TikTok.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to have where I can
planner
and look at it. I do the online calendar because my man likes that, and it keeps him knowing where he's supposed to be or where I need to be. But for me, I have to have it written down, and I go, oh, there it is. And then everything gets stapled into that book of, or written in or whatever that, here's the address, here's the this, here's the that. And that's easy for me. And with the spinning plates thing, I think the thing with me, Erin, is if one plate falls down out of all that spinning, I go, oh crap, let's just kick that aside. And there's still a lot of plates and it's still great. Let's just add a new one over here. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. And that's the thing people say, I can't have somebody in my house because, we really need to get new paint, or we need this. Number one, most people don't really care. Mm-hmm. And most people don't really look at all that. They're just happy to come over.
Yeah. Right.
So things don't have to be perfect. Good enough is good enough. And the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to loop back around to you figuring out that you needed a different way to live. How long did it take you to transform your life from a place of, and I'm kind of going to go there, from a place of lack.
Yeah.
To I created my own space. I get to live royally. This is what it looks like to live like Patti.
It's funny. I don't know how to say how long, because immediately, as soon as I moved out, my life was very different, because I just made this choice that there weren't going to be late bills. There weren't going to be this. I was going to live within these means. And I did a lot of side gigs. I mean, I was doing real estate, but I was selling Arbonne cosmetics for a while, and I was doing this and that. Whatever it took to make money, that's what I did. Sure. I buy stuff, and I do little boutique things and stuff like that. So whatever it took, that's what I did. But it was fun because, excuse me, with selling Arbonne cosmetics, I could put on a party and have you come. And so it's kind of my strong suit is putting on a party. So I did the 2-in-1 type of thing. So immediately my life changed. And then that incrementally where, oh my gosh, I'm scared. I don't have money. And then finally, I have some money in the bank. Things are paid off. That sort of thing. So, till it turned completely around, a few years, I guess.
Yeah.
But immediately there was a difference when I had that focus and determination that my life was going to be what I created it, not with somebody else.
Yeah.
Not that bottom of the heap. The thing you spoke about in my introduction. Women are I see so many women say, well, I can't do this because I've got kids and they've got to be at the events, and I've got a husband, and what about my career, and what about this? And that's all great, but it's not selfish to put yourself first, because number one, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, right?
Right.
So when we're not happy, everybody gets the fallout. And I see things as simple as, I have bunk up my house every month for, I don't know, 5 years or something. And one gal that lived in my neighborhood, when she did get around to showing up, she said, well, I had to feed my husband and my son before my daughter and I could come.
Mm.
The husband, the son's like 18. I said, why did you not feed your husband and your son? Are they incapable? If you've got a night to do something, they should be able to scrounge up dinner, run to McDonald's,
Peanut butter and jelly, something.
Okay? But as long as you feel that they've got to be hand-fed and spoon-fed, they will. And they will expect it. But they can do this. They can do this stuff. It's better for them, better for you. The 18-year-old ought to be figuring out how to cook dinner, because he's going to be moving out soon, right? So that's the thing. Everybody doesn't need to come first. Sometimes you need to come first. And when you start to come first, it's going to be better for everybody.
Mm.
The women who still clean up their kids' rooms, and the kids are 15 years old, and they still do their laundry. You're not helping them out. You are not being a better mom by doing all this stuff. You are not being a better wife by doing all this stuff. So put yourself first a little bit and say, you do your laundry, or you do the whole family's laundry, or whatever. So, we need to put ourselves kind of up front.
I love that. That's my favorite quote from you today. I love that. I love that. I want to take just like 30 seconds and talk about your book project that you got going on. So let's talk about that. And we're going to go over just a little bit on our time, and that's okay, because I want to.
Okay. Well, I have a book project I'm collaborating with. This is just my little mock-up of the cover, but it's called The Light at the End of the Funnel. Mm-hmm. It's volume 2. And Danielle Clark is the gal who put this together. And she has about 20 entrepreneurial women and their little stories on becoming a success. So it'll be fun. It'll be a little chapter. So there's probably something for everybody. What resonates with you might not resonate with me as much, but it's great. So this little book project is coming out in October. And then my title of my chapter is Living a Royal Life. Oh, we have a plane going over. Living a Royal Life. And then I'm going to do a whole book on living a royal life from this. I'm expanding it, and then within a year, I'll have a book, Living a Royal Life.
I love that so much. When we're done, will you go ahead and drop if you have a link to that, will you drop it in the feed when we're done for the Living a Royal Life, or light at the
link yet? It's coming.
Light at the end of the funnel.
Yeah.
Beautiful. If you guys want to get in and be part of Patti's community, be in her pocket, play in her world, I highly recommend it. If you want to figure out how to live a more royal life and take on some of the behaviors and the mindset that Patti has over the last few years, I highly suggest you pick up what she's been doing. Figure out those 10 steps that she takes and she does every single day to make sure that she's living in her royal life and creating it as she goes, because every time she checks one off, she puts another one on. She talked about that. I highly suggest you hang out with Patti. She's the queen of damn near everything is where you can find her, .com. Queen of damn near everything.com. I love that. Her website is super, super fun. Do you have a Facebook page also, Patti?
I do. It's got the same name.
Awesome. So you can find her on Queen of Damn Near Everything.com or Facebook at the Queen of Damn Near Everything. Be in her world, be in her space, pick up what she's laying down, change your world one step at a time to live your royal life. Patti, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you.
Perfect timing. Everybody's in my neighborhood flying over and weed whacking, and so it's perfect timing.
All the flybys are right now. It's awesome. Thank you to everybody that's been watching today. If you're watching the replay, we super appreciate you as well. If you have comments, questions, or concerns, drop them in the feed here. We'll make sure we loop around to everybody's comments. So thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you right back here soon.
Thank you.